My name is Martin Mitchell. I'm running for Laurel City Council at large. I'm also president of Prince George's County Young Democrats, better known as PGCYD. You are watching The Soul of the War.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Soul of the War. For our candidate spotlight today, we will be interviewing Martin Mitchell. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
No problem. Can you state for the camera, who you are, what you're running for?
Sure. My name is Martin Mitchell. I'm running for Laurel City Council at large, my hometown. And I'm also the president of the Young Dems here in this county.
Okay. How did you grow up? Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Laurel, so I'd like to say I'm homegrown, Laurel raised, but better known as in Prince George's County, gorgeous Prince George's County. So Prince George's and the city of Laurel is near and dear to my heart.
Okay. Are you a person of faith, or do you attend church?
Yes, I mean I am a person of faith. I would like to say, I could attend church more, definitely,
Okay.
but without a doubt, a person of faith.
How has your faith helped you get to where you are today and formed you into the man that you are now?
Well, I would say that, believing that, whatever your situation might be, you will overcome it. And just, having that positive mindset to believe that. And the thought is like, you realize after you go through a situation and, something else occurs, like, wow, that wasn't, the worst day of my life or, the worst thing I've ever been through. Like, I can overcome it, I can triumph.
Can you tell me a little bit more about your family life? How did you grow up? Do you have brothers and sisters? Are your parents together? What was your household like?
Sure. I mean, I was raised by my mom, so, our mom, she's my hero. Of course, she worked, very hard to, make sure that, I stayed on the right track and, that she was at all the sporting events. So, she definitely filled the role sometimes. And, I had a lot of uncles, so I had a lot of uncles that, taught me a lot of things. And, I would say family life now, I'm a family man. I have twins. They just started school this year. That's, exciting and nerve-wracking at the same time. But, I definitely, am always been a family person. And, my grandmother, she was able to move to Laurel a couple years ago. So she's one of the #1 babysitters. And, I'm so happy to have the matriarch of the family, a couple blocks away. God bless her. But yeah, I mean, family is everything.
That's good. That's good. So speaking on family and leadership, you do coach wrestling as well, correct?
Yes.
So how did you kind of get into that, and what's your motivation behind doing that?
Well, I got into wrestling, kind of, it was a funny story. I believe I got into trouble in 9th grade, and I wasn't even aware that the school had a wrestling team. And an administrator, I guess he realized that I was a certain weight class in which they needed, which was like the lowest weight class. Because I remember starting high school, I was like 80 pounds. I think I was, sub 5 foot, if 5 foot. So I was very, very small coming in, and they needed a 103 pounder. So I was definitely, I definitely fit the bill to be that. And I remember he said to me, like, either you join the wrestling team, because you have grades, and I know that you could do it, or you take a 2-day, 3-day suspension, whatever it might have been. But at the time, it was a no-brainer, take suspension or participate in athletics. And wrestling worked out for me. It helped my ADHD, help calm down, and it helped me focus my energy, and then also just stop fighting, because of course there was no reason to fight, because of course I had to keep my grades up and I couldn't get in trouble, and you're releasing all this negative energy doing sports, so it's a positive. So that's really how I came along to wrestling, and ever since then wrestling is life. I wrestled in college, and the thought is coaching now is just paying it forward, giving back, because there was many people who came back to the room to help me develop. So yeah.
That's awesome. Speaking of school, where did you attend college?
Well, I graduated from Bowie State, the first HBCU. in the state of Maryland, and I say oldest. So, yeah.
If I'm so lucky next year, I can call Bowie State my alma mater as well.
Yes, yes,
So,
absolutely.
yeah, what did you major in?
History and government.
Nice.
History and government. So, it came along, public service, honestly.
What motivated you to attend an HBCU over a PWI?
Well, I went to a PWI before. I went to school in Rhode Island. Of course, it was a great time. It was definitely very expensive. It's one of the, more expensive schools in the Northeast. But one was just, of course, price. And then location to home. And they're not going to let you fail. Like, you got to try very hard to fail at HBC. Like, you got to really try very hard because they're like, nope, I'm not going to let you fail. So.
Yeah, that is the beauty of it, the HBCU. I also went to an HBCU for undergrad at Bennett College.
Yes.
Which was the first HBCU for women. Would you say that, for me, I know that Bennett College was a huge inspiration for me when it came to leadership and choosing to run for office and getting involved in my community. Would you say that your HBCU did the same thing for you?
For sure. One of the things I was doing an interview, I think it was a week or two ago, with the Alumni Association of Bowie, and one of the things that I spoke about was the fact that Bowie did really well on presenting like career opportunities and kind of networking opportunities to the students in the different departments. And one of the ways that I came across kind of my first paid job, in politics was, I don't know if your department has this, but where you walk in and they have the cork boards that have the different job postings and career postings. So like a lot of students might not read it, but generally like once a week or every other week I would go check it out. And I remember that there was something about interning in the General Assembly. And it was a paid job. So I was like, okay, this is cool. And that kind of jump started my working in politics outside of, I think I was an intern a few years before, but it wasn't paid or anything like that. And it was more so helping on the campaign, not in the legislative capacity. So, that was great. And then Bowie just really made me kind of start organizing.
What would you say motivated you to run specifically for city council in Laurel?
Well, many things. For one, if you ever talk to me prior to running for city council years ago, I always stressed the importance of like local government, local politics, local elections, because a lot of times, people care about what happens at the national level and on the federal level, but that doesn't matter as much in your everyday life.
Get to know them personally. Make sure you send emails. Make sure you show up at their offices with questions. Pester them. Become that super voter, because at the end of the day, that's who they write laws for. They write laws for their super voters, the people that are voicing their opinion.
It really matters about like who the mayor is in your city, who is on your city council, who's on your planning commission, who's on your zoning board in the city. Those are the little things that necessarily people don't focus on, but they impact your everyday life. Like, is your trash getting picked up? Are your roads being repaired? Like these property taxes you're paying, do you feel that, you're receiving the services, to actually match what you're paying? You know what I mean? So a lot of times that has to deal with, your local government. So for me, it was like, what better place to, start, than your hometown?
So here at the Soul of the War, we do pride ourselves on informing the public on all roles, all positions, and putting it in the most layman's terms possible so that people can fully understand at any level they are in politics. So can you explain your role and position that you're running for?
Yeah. So, the role of your city council person, going back to what your schoolhouse rock. Your city council, they are your legislative branch of local government, your city. The mayor, he would be considered the executive. So, that's at a very basic level. And the thought is some of the responsibilities of the council, we'll keep it very simple, right? We won't even say zoning. We'll say building, and building in the community. Like any type of building in the community, one thing that's very, very special about Laurel is we have our own rights to that, meaning that we don't have to go to another government, the county or the state, to develop. We can do that, at the city level. And that of course is very important because of course there's a lot of people who complain about overdevelopment, suburban sprawl, smart development. So, being able to have that power within your own city and not needing someone else to sign off is very crucial.
What makes you different from the other candidates running in this race?
Well, one,
What do you bring to the table that's unique about you?
one, I mean, just starting off as being a proud Laurelite, right? So spent my years in Laurel, went to elementary, middle, and high school. So, I mean, we've had the same mayor for 20 years. Before that, he was on the city council. One of the unique things that, of course, just very unique things that I would bring is that I'm the Laurelian who actually graduated from the Laurel City Council, Laurel High School. None of the other candidates could say that they were graduates of Laurel High School or people on the council outside of the mayor. So, that's something unique. Everybody else, moved to the city or went to other schools. So the thought is, I'm, of course, from Laurel High School. Also, I'll be the youngest city council member.
Nice.
So, that, of course, is important to keep that diversity of age and diversity of thought. Because, for a long time, we've had a council who, were traditionally, they thought the same way. They weren't innovative. They weren't willing to work with all members of the community. They were just very, very resilient to change sometimes. So, me, I recognize that, Laurel's a burgeoning place, and, the thought is like I will help move Laurel into the future and, work with the community and be grassroots. So the thought is like I was a public servant long before I put my name on the ballot. And, I don't have to be elected to serve, and that's what I have been doing.
Speaking of creativity, what would you do to, I guess, encourage people that are already on the city council? How will you encourage them to move in this direction of forward that you spoke of and like sparking that creativity in them as a team player on the council?
Kind of just the thought of like, not like necessarily that, like, I remember somebody asked me recently, like, what did a certain individual do wrong? Right? And then, my immediate response was, what did they do right? Right? So it would be basically just not settling for the same old ideas, not being scared to try new things. Because the thought is like the demographics of Laurel have changed. Even since I've lived there, the census came out recently. It's a majority minority city. Of course, it was 10 years ago, but even more so now. So the thought is, we have to recognize that, and we have to, make sure to include everybody. Not only in just like how we are creative, but in actually what we do. I remember somebody asked me about the hiring practices of the city, and I mentioned that outside of the cronyism and nepotism, that definitely happens. I said we need to make sure to look at, the hiring through a racial equity lens, not just hiring practices, but also the procurement process. Because the thought is there's a lot of small businesses, that don't receive a fair shot because, generally the procurement departments are dealing with the same vendors.
Yeah.
So, that is also, something that we could just think outside the box. Like, the thought is like, because it hasn't been done doesn't mean it shouldn't be done or, it shouldn't be tried.
How will you encourage people within your community? I know specifically in Laurel, there's an issue with voter turnout. And I wouldn't even just say that it's specifically in Laurel. I think that throughout Prince George's County, we have an issue when it comes to voter information and people being informed. I know plenty of people that don't even know about the race that's going on right now, specifically your race. How will you, as a city council person, help? Like, how will you help people get informed on the roles that are on their ballot, when they can vote, how can they register to vote, et cetera?
Well, I think, outside of continuing to do events, working with community organizations to do events, because not just doing solo campaign events is more impactful if you're working with organizations within your community to have these events, because obviously you can make a bigger impact, and you're more likely to get people involved if they're actually a part of the planning and organizing process. So I mean, I think that's important, but also just being grassroots. So the thought is like after, you know, I'm elected, you know, I won't just disappear. You know, I will be accessible, right? And the thought is just like, you know, I'm your everyday person, so I'm not like some high level person that you can't talk to, you can't reach, not accessible. You know, that's, you know, who I am. And the thought is, it's like I've always tried to be, you know, a truth teller, a truth seeker. You know, whether it was beneficial or it was going to, you know, hurt me or not. You know, the thought is like I will, you know, try to continue to empower people to advocate.
If you can pay for mailers during a campaign, you can pay for mailers when it comes to information for the public, right? So,
Yes. Well, door knockers are cheaper than mailers anyway. Like, you know, pay the people to lit drop. That's going to be cheaper than sending mailers, and it's more personal, more personable.
Yep, you're right.
So-
You're right. So do you plan on holding your position with the Prince George's County Young Democrats as the president if you are elected to the city council?
Well, you know, I really don't know. I mean, the thought is like I gotta, of course, you know, get through November, get through November 2nd, make sure that I am successfully elected, and you know, all the hard work comes to fruition. I really don't know. I mean, the thought is I may be too busy. I may be too busy, but you know, right now I don't know what the future holds. Like after November, to be honest.
What would you say is the number one thing that you're proud of that you were able to get done during your time with Prince George's County Young Democrats as president?
Well, there's a lot of things. I mean, we did 51 events in 2020. You know,
Wow,
so like
that's awesome.
That it was almost like to the point where I didn't realize how many events it was, nor did we until we stopped and counted, because, you know, we were just kind of on a roll, like 2-3 events a week at times. And, you know, it was great because during this time, especially, this was the beginning of COVID, so we were able to stay connected with a lot of people who we weren't have seen or connected with because COVID was happening. Not only, you know, people in the political circle necessarily, but we were able to provide a platform so people outside of the normal political circle can, you know, be engaged and aware of certain things going on.
As a community member that has attended your events, I definitely applaud you in the work that you've been doing when it comes to service within the community and helping out. So definitely that was awesome. And a member of PGCYD has alleged that you and specific members in your organization voted to endorse specific candidates because jobs were offered to you all if they won. Do you see this as leadership that you will continue with?
I'm not even familiar. You said jobs were promised. No, I mean, for me, nor, you know, anyone else, I don't believe jobs were promised. Even if we say that, like, you know, help people get certain positions, a lot of times they were either weren't employed or they were working somewhere else, you know, and they met them through the organization. So I wouldn't say that there was a promise to, you know, act in any manner or endorse an individual.
Okay.
Yeah.
To get a job.
Yes, that's completely
Okay.
correct.
If with crime like consistently on the rise, I have noticed it personally a spike since the pandemic. How will you address that as City Council?
A spike in crime since the pandemic. Huh. I have heard a lot about that, even doing door knocking, especially the concern of crime. I believe that, for me, I believe that a lot of the crime is due to like opportunities. And of course, like COVID, you know, has hurt a lot of people's opportunities, whether it be like job opportunities, or just, you know, opportunities to go back to, you know, things as they did years ago, regularly. So the thought is, in the city locally, I would try to figure out, you know, how we can, you know, have more job fairs. I would try to figure out like not only like just traditional jobs, but how we can promote like more like gigs, because the thought is like we're in a gig economy. So that's like how a lot of people, you know, sometimes make money even if they have a full-time jobs. They have these, hobbies in which they monetize. So I mean, definitely job fairs, definitely figuring out how to promote different gigs to the community. And one of the things that I believe is we should have like an app, like a community app, something that could be able to connect people to resources,
Nice.
being like jobs, but also being like city services. I think that would be kind of cool, and especially us living in the 21st century, an app would probably be pretty highly used.
Yeah.
Especially if we got like a millennial to, run the app. We definitely
Very
we
cool.
definitely don't need an old person to run the app. We need a millennial to run the app.
I think that that's an awesome way to just make the community feel more safe. What is your advice? What advice would you give to someone that is looking to run for office?
Start locally. I mean, even if you desire to run at a bigger level, start your service in your community, in your hometown. Even if it's not traditional public service, if it's coaching, mentoring, start locally, and that's what I would say. Start locally and just find out how to get involved. Everyone should know who their local representatives are. So if you don't know, go to mdelect.net and find out, because it's important, because they have scholarships for you guys. So if you're going to school, a lot of people don't know because they don't widely publicize these scholarships. They have scholarships for you guys, but they also, decide on issues that affect you. And, I'm really happy that a lot more young people are becoming, like just conscious of what's going on and, hungry to actually learn more. So, yeah.
I think we have a different generation coming up.
Yeah, do it. Do it.
So where can people go to find out more about you, your race, and who you are?
Sure. I mean, martinforlaurel.com is the website, but also there's socials. So Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Martin for Laurel. You could learn more about me. And if you ever have a particular question, feel free to email me or call me. I'm very accessible.
Thank you. I appreciate your time.
Yes.
Thank you so much for watching this interview with Martin Mitchell, candidate for City Council in the city of Laurel. All of the information that we spoke of on this interview will be available on my website, thesoulofthewar.org. I'll see you all soon.